We're ready to begin the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Bolden. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Bolden. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Viviano. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Budget and Finance meeting this afternoon. We have a couple items coming before us, but we're going to first start off with, roll call, please.
Lombardo,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Fusco, Boyes,
Aye.
Bolden. You have all committee members present except for Councilman Bolden.
Okay. Can I get an approval of last week's meeting minutes, please?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's very good. All right, our first item this afternoon is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the provision of employee benefit programs, consulting services, and declaring an emergency. We have Montrell Jackson here. Going to speak on this?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The request is for entering to contract for consulting services for our benefits plan for 1,900 employees and 2,400 retirees. This is a continuing service for expert consulting in the benefits area related to our self-insured employee health care plan.
Okay. All right, very good. We have any questions from any committee members or any other council members? Councilman Fusco?
Same amount, or is there?
So the request is for an amount not to exceed, it's around the same amount. It's 130,000.
Yes.
So that would be the request.
Oh, okay, but in terms of the previous contract, this is a continuous type thing?
Yes, this, the contract.
Same dollar amount?
It expired this year.
Okay, same dollar.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and what would, I see Councilwoman Linda Amobian has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, I'm sure we do. There's a stop loss kind of feature to this, our insurance package. After it gets to, your healthcare bill gets to be a certain point. Is there, you know what I'm talking about? You know, when you're self-insured, you have to kind of control some of the dollars.
Yes, there's a component in terms of coverage so that we don't, exceed a excessive amount in
Okay.
the contract.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What would be the request for this piece of legislation?
So the request is, because it is expired, or has expired, we're requesting that it be considered on an emergency basis.
Okay, to suspend rules. So committee, can I get a motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report?
So move.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Suspend the rules. Thank you. Okay, second item this afternoon is an ordinance approving funding necessary to implement the agreement between the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7 Bargaining Unit and the City of Akron in furtherance of Mayor Malik's commitment to prioritizing public safety within the City of Akron, approving funding and collection necessary for adjustments in compensation and health care benefits for all employees in the non-bargaining, management, and unclassified job classes in order to attract and retain qualified employees and provide competitive and fair benefits, all while economically utilizing taxpayer dollars to provide quality services to Akron citizens and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So before you is the wage and benefits component of the bargaining agreement reached with FOP Lodge 7 as well as the non-bargaining employees. So the FOP Lodge 7 agreement will cover the years 2025 through 2027, and the non-bargaining cost of living increases will cover 2025 and 2026. So this is the result of a long negotiation, both by the city and by the FOP, that went through several stages, including getting a fact finder report. We were scheduled to go to a conciliation with the FOP, but ultimately reach an agreement with them before going to conciliation. So the agreement reached is what is before you now. So I will go through each of the sections individually in terms of the cost to the city, the different parameters of each agreement. So Section 1 covers the wages for FOP.
And I would ask, I'm sorry, I would ask if there's a page number to reference, we can follow along.
So I'm not really referencing anything in the contract. This is purely on I'm just going through the sections of the legislative piece, so I'm not referring to the contract. But I do believe the contract was attached to the legislation, yeah, So in terms of Section 1, that is related to the wages for FOP Lodge 7. There will be a 5% wage increase for 2025. That will be retroactive back to the beginning of the year. And then 4.5% wage increases for 2026 and 2027. In addition to this, there will be a $4,000 one-time payment made to each of the bargaining unit members as a result of this agreement. So all in, the cost to the city for the FOP agreement over the 3 years will be about $19.2 million. That includes the wages, the changes in benefits, I'll talk about that in a little bit, and then the additional amounts for the bonus, changes in just what the longevity pay is worth. In addition, there were some tentative agreements reached on uniform allowance, shift differential, the accumulation of leave, the sale of leave. So there's some additional agreements that were reached outside of this agreement that will be attached to the agreement that were tentative agreements we reached throughout negotiations with the FOP Lodge 7. Okay, in Section 2, this deals with the premium contributions, and this relates to both FOP and non-bargaining employees. So currently in 2025, there are no changes to 2025 under the agreement. So in 2025, single employees will pay a premium contribution of $70 per month, and those that have family coverage will pay $180 for family coverage. So that is unchanged from 2024. Beginning next year, single coverage will increase to $90 and family coverage will increase to $240. And then in 2027, single coverage will increase to $100 and family coverage will increase to $260. So over the course of the agreement, a single employee will pay an additional $600 and an employee getting family coverage will pay an additional $1,680. Section 3 deals with the wage increases for non-bargaining employees. So this ordinance lays out that we will have a 3% wage increase for 2025. Again, that will be retroactive back to the beginning of the year to January 1st of this year, followed by a 2.25% wage increase for 2026. So that will begin January 1st, 2026. In addition to that, all non-bargaining employees that are classified employees, in other words, anyone that is not appointed or elected, so the appointed and elected would include the mayor, the city council, all of the mayor's appointed cabinet employees, employees of the law department, and employees of the municipal clerk's office. Those are all appointed employees. They will not receive a one-time payment that is equal to 1% of the non-bargaining employees' 2025 annual rate. So this was done in order to make the cost of the city a little bit better by not having that extra 1% added to the employee's base wage. So instead, it will be paid as a lump sum payment. It's simply a one-time payment. It will not add to the base wage of the employee. Section 4 deals with, really this only applies to about 5 employees within the city. So we have about 5 employees that are in job classifications that would be included under the CSPA bargaining unit, but because they work in certain divisions of the finance department and due to confidentiality concerns, they are exempt from being in the union. And as the wage scales between non-bargaining and CSPA have widened a little bit, what we're doing is basically saying that those employees will now get the same rate as a CSPA employee in the same job classification. So it's just equating people within the same job classification so they all have the same wage rate, and we don't have 2 different scales for people that are in the same job classification. So there's 5 employees that meet that. And the hourly wage amount ranges from like 40 to 65 cents an hour, I believe. So fairly minimal impact, but we wanted to make that adjustment for those 5 employees. Section 5 deals with the mayor's compensation. So that compensation will be increased exactly the same as within Section 3. So it will be a 3% increase for 2025 and a 2.25% increase for 2026. And that's in accordance with the charter section, Section 53 within the charter of the City of Akron. Section 6, again, is the same, follows Section 3 in terms of the 3% for 2025, 2.25% for 2026, and this is for all of the appointed employees of the city. So that's both the cabinet, the municipal court employees, the law department. So all of the appointed employees will follow Section 3 as well. Section 7 deals with city council. So again, 3% in 2025, 2.25% in 2026. All of the employees, as I mentioned, in sections 5, 6, and 7 will not be eligible to receive the one-time payment because they are appointed employees. And that is really it for the parameters of these bargaining unit increases. As I said, the cost to the city of the police agreement is about $19.2 million. The cost of the non-bargaining agreement is about $6.1 million. And that's assuming, it's really only a 2-year agreement, so it's assuming no wage increase in 2027, but that would likely be voted on next year. So assuming there is a cost of living next year sometime for 2027, it would increase that a little bit. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I see Councilwoman Linda Amobian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, Mr. Fricker. Does this include the other bargaining units that I guess they haven't negotiated this around this time yet?
So it does not. So we are still in negotiations with the fire union and with the CSPA union. The ASME union did have a contract. Their contract doesn't expire until the end of this year. But due to the fact that their contract contains a Me Too clause, they will also receive the 5% wage increase retroactive to January 1st, 2025. So that's just a result of their existing contract right now.
And they would only get the 1 year, or they get the 3 years? They don't get 3 years at a time like the FOP?
So they will have, so their contract does expire at the end of this year, and so there will be a round of negotiations with them concerning 2026, 2027, and 2028.
Yeah. If you were to tell us how much the group in, is that the cabinet in, my phone went small. Yeah. Could you tell us what the figure would be if you were to increase those in section 6 at the same rate? If you don't have it today, if you could give it to us in the very near future?
So in other
With
words, if we were to, so could you
If
word
we-
your question again? If we were to increase the non-bargaining at the same wage
Right.
levels as what the FOP received, is that what you're asking?
Excluding the elected officials, yeah, just
Yes.
the cabinet. Because I've heard over the years that not only do we have challenges with recruiting and retaining officers, we have challenges recruiting and retaining talent at all levels of the city. So if you were to provide us with the figure for that group, what would it be?
So I will tell you what it is. If we were to have the non-bargaining wage increases mirror the FOP, that would be an additional $7.2 million over the 3 years of the contract.
I see.
So when we set the non-bargaining, we kind of were really trying to strike a balance of, being cognizant that the non-bargaining employees also are in need of a cost of living increase, but balancing that with, some of the fiscal challenges that we'll have going forward with these agreements. So these are adding a substantial amount of money to these cities' labor costs. And I think we've talked about this, that we are going to have to look at what our staffing levels are and various aspects of our budget for 2026 in order to accommodate these higher amounts. So when setting the non-bargaining rates, we really did try to weigh, fiscal responsibility with also providing our non-bargaining employees with an increase.
I see. Okay, Mr. Chair, if I can continue, I just have a couple more questions, please.
Sure.
The next question I have, how did you arrive at the 4,000 one-time bonus?
So that mirrors, so the fire department actually received a bonus payment that was grant funded in the previous contract that amounted to $4,000 per employee. This one is structured slightly different, but that's where the 4,000 came from, to mirror that amount. So each police and fire have received bonuses over the past 3 years now that equated to $4,000 per employee.
Okay. And my last question, Mr. Chair, is there a reason why we are separating the language from the financial piece? Because you're asking us to kind of sign a blank check, because there are a number of things that we've talked about over the years that we were going to address in this contract. So I'm just wondering, is there somebody that can tell us about the non-financial part of the agreement so we have some sense of what we are talking about today? I agree that the police officers and everybody else needs a raise. That is not even part of the question. My question is, we talk so much about the FOP contract, and we're talking about the language in the contract and why we can't do certain things. And I'm just curious as to what's in the contract, the language that is different, that's going to give us the leverage that we've been asking for a while now, at least to tell us that there's a starting point in this new contract. So can someone speak to the language?
So there are some items, some non-monetary items in terms of staffing and management rights that are incorporated into this agreement. So, one of them revolves around the body-worn camera unit, where the city may now assign one civilian for every bargaining unit detective in the body-worn camera unit. So that was one change. There's also a management rights section that was not currently listed in the contract. The contract is now allowing for 3 more exempt sergeants to be in the office of. This might be simpler. Okay. And maybe rather than do this, we will just provide this document so that there are some management type things that were part of this contract that will change staffing within the department.
Right, I have the 96-page contract. I think it's 96 pages. I started going through it. But see, what I've learned to ask for over the years is for somebody at some higher level who can identify those areas that have changed, that would give us the kind of leverage that we've been asking for. Because you know that I don't see where we have mentioned the oversight board at all, even acknowledging that there needs to be a relationship between FOP and the oversight board. I mean, just even acknowledging that they're going to work together. And every time something comes up, we tell the public that is not covered by the contract. So this is a new contract, and I recognize that we're not going to get everything we want, but even just acknowledging that the body exists, that there's a need for a working relationship. Is that anywhere in the document? I haven't seen it yet. And I don't have the capability of doing a word search with this document. So can somebody tell me something?
So I don't believe there's any language in the contract related to the board.
And please, somebody,
I was just
can
going
somebody explain that?
oh, sorry, I was just going to expand a little bit. Thank you for your question, Ms. Mobian. As Mr. Fricker answered, no, that is not a part of this current contract. So as Mr. Fricker explained earlier, this was a process of long negotiations between the parties. There were a lot of ideas that were exchanged, and as negotiations go, both sides, give some things up, and then we get other things. So just to highlight a few more things that the city did get in this agreement was increasing the number of positions in the UPSA, the Office of Professional Standards and Accountability. We're going to be increasing that unit by 3, which increases their capacity. As Mr. Fricker mentioned, the body-worn camera unit, there will be an addition of civilian employees on a 1-for-1 basis, and that will increase 2 to 3 civilian employees to that group. There is a statutory management rights clause that we brought our agreement into conformance with that statutory language. So that added some additional rights, again, unless they're otherwise limited by the agreement. And then there were other components that were not, some were financial components, some not financial components, that we felt struck a good balance between what the parties wanted or what the union wanted and what the city also wanted, including the shift differential. We added additional capacity to the training bureau, and likewise, we believe that the FOP got some favorable terms to them as well. So this was a product of a lot of work on both sides, and we think we ended up with a pretty favorable agreement.
I totally agree with you that it is pretty favorable for FOP. There's no question about that, and I know we need to do something there. My question is, to enter the oversight committee is a baby step. That's not a quantum leap. To acknowledge that the citizens voted for an oversight committee, and to ask FOP to acknowledge the oversight board's existence and the need to work with this body that the citizens voted for. I mean, I think that's a baby step. That's not asking for a lot. And I wanted to know from somebody in the room, did we even make that a part of this agreement? It sounds like it's not even there. So could somebody explain that to me? And then you're asking us to give this kind of money. And I realize that our police officers, when you compare them to other large cities, that they are underpaid. Okay, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the fact that they deserve a raise, and I'm 100% behind that. But the citizens also deserve to have some accountability built into this contract, because we have talked about this for a long time now. And that's all we've said. Every time something comes up, we are saying that it's not in the contract. And
All right, so
you're
that's your question, right? That's your question.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it. I'm gonna cut it short.
Okay.
And I want to know, when are we planning, or if we're planning to do something about that? And how do we explain again to the citizens of Akron that we have not even tried to address it in the contract?
Thank you, Councilwoman Obian. Again, this was a product of long negotiations, and that was ultimately not reached in the agreement this time.
Okay. Is there any other questions from committee members or other council members? Councilwoman Tina Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say congratulations on reaching an agreement. I know a lot of folks in that room did not want to go the route of conciliation, but felt we had to because of the budgetary impact that was shown to us. And I'm looking here at some of these numbers, but I'm wondering if there's a way we can see them in a similar presentation so that we can see what we actually arrived at, because it looked pretty dismal from what we were looking at originally. I would just like to see where we ended up in a parallel format. Is that something we can do?
That is certainly something that we can do. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So bear in mind, I will say one thing about that, however. So, obviously this agreement is just FOP. The numbers that we were showing are also making projections about where the other unions are going to be. We, as I said, we're still negotiating with two of the unions. So, none of the numbers would be final yet, but, some of that would be projecting what happens.
Understood. And we did that the first time as
Right.
well, correct? Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Councilman Fusco.
Yeah, if I could, thank you, both administration as well as the FOP. These are unprecedented numbers that we're seeing. This is, I know it was a tough negotiation, and I do appreciate that the pay, we've got to be competitive for all of our employees across the board in terms of delivering the services that we all appreciate. There's quite a few 89 pages here referencing the agreement. There's some good questions that have been asked. The financial piece, I think, is going to be paramount for us. I also believe that, we as the administration, we talked a little bit about this in the past, and as council, I think looking into the crystal ball, if we can, we have a lot of tough decisions before us. The numbers that we had seen, the impact. It's not only this, though. I think it's compounded by the federal government, what they're doing, the state of Ohio, what they're doing, and trying to deliver more, better, efficient services. And again, the Me Too clauses within this. We want to be competitive as a city. We want to attract the best possible employees. We want to attract the best possible businesses. And I think in terms of this document right here, I'm in support of it. I'm in support of it. But I think we still, before we vote on it, we've never changed, never offered changes to a union contract. That's not really our lane in terms of doing that. But then again, understanding what it is the impact is going to be, especially going into budget season. Understanding that, I think, is going to be important for us, and to be able to communicate to our constituents in terms of where we're at, how we got here, and what to look for moving forward. And I think some of these questions are around that, and I appreciate the questions that have been asked. But I think just respectfully requesting 1 week's time so that we can digest all the information coming forward is that I think that would be prudent for us as a council.
So, Councilman Fusco, I do appreciate your concerns. in terms of looking at all of that. I do believe that we can pull that together and distribute that to council. I will tell you that we do have some just logistical issues with, making these payments in light of how late we are in the year, how long it's been. Our non-bargaining and our FOP employees have gone without getting their cost of living now for in excess of 10 months, almost 11 months now. I do respectfully request that council consider this for this evening. We have laid out what the agreement is, the fact that both sides have worked hard to come to this. There's a lot of thought that's gone into this. We frankly are a little concerned about getting through all the logistics of getting these cost of living increases handled in our accounting system, knowing that likely we will have two other unions, that hopefully do settle their agreements before the end of the year. And each one of those we have to address in our accounting system. So that is why we are requesting that council does consider this for tonight, is just the logistical issues of getting these payments processed.
Right.
And I'm concerned about the logistical issues about a council member making a decision on something like this that's going to have a profound impact, budgetarily especially. Also, got this information Friday at 4 o'clock. There's 89 pages. We've requested information, quite a bit of information. We would like to get that before we vote. And I don't know, in terms of a week, we empathize and we understand that this has been a long process. This has not been an easy process. It's been a tough one. And certainly empathize with that and applaud all the efforts and all the extra time and effort that went into all of that. And I believe that the votes are here. However, though, for us to be comfortable in terms of voting on something, I think there's been great questions that have been brought forward from all my colleagues here. And so we need to get those. We need to have a comfort level in which we all can vote. And so that's why I've requested that we just take 1 week's time. I know it's been a long time in terms of the making of this, but that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
Yep.
Chair.
Sure. And certainly I respect everybody's opinion in this chambers today, but I'm just of the opinion it has been time. There's been a lot of, like we've already said, all the negotiations and hard work that's going into this. I'm thinking it's been 10 months. It could be a year and 10 months that you started on this process. But our police do an outstanding job. They have been patient enough, I believe. The mayor has agreed with this contract. It is unprecedented. And there's always going to be challenges, but I just think that the time has come, and I agree that we should pass this tonight. But I will also let other council members chime in. I think I first saw Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. I might have a couple questions here, but I'll start off with this question for Steve Fricker. Minus the members of the mayor's cabinet, the mayor himself, and city council, how many non-bargaining employees do we have?
So here I have so we have a total of about 506 non-bargaining employees. When we broke it out in terms of the appointed versus the non-appointed, so the classified personnel, there are 327 classified people. Those are the people that would get the 1% lump sum payment. And then there's, in some of these, so I'm going to say 169 between the council, the mayor, the municipal court, and all of the unclassified employees. And then there's a handful of others that some of these were part-time. I got picked up in my count. So I think my true count is 496.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Well, so my focus is on the non-bargaining. I see that with their increases compared to the FOP, they'll be paying basically the same amount for healthcare, correct?
So they would also pay an additional, so a single employee would pay an additional $600 over the next 2 years, and a employee getting family coverage would pay an additional $1,680 over the next 2 years.
But basically, that's the same as what the FOP is getting, correct?
That is
Or they're-
correct, yeah.
so my concern is I just think that's kind of unfair in regards to the percentage for 2025, 3%, 2026, 2.25%. I mean, these folks work hard too. And I mean, I understand we have to balance our budget and everything, but I just think, I support the FOP and I'm on board with this, but the non-bargaining piece, I mean, I'm not sure if we're able to discuss this and see if we can bring this in at a later time. I mean, I don't want to wait too long, but I just don't think that's fair. And those are my concerns moving forward. And I agree with my council colleague, Councilman Fusco. We're the ones that balance the budget, review the budget. And I mean, this is a pretty big increase, but so those are my concerns. I don't know if any of my colleagues agree with me or want to look at that, but I just think that's kind of unfair. I don't know really who came up with that number.
So I think, when we're looking at healthcare, you also have to look at, city healthcare coverage in relation to what people out in the private sector would get. And I think that if you look at, what our level of healthcare that we receive is, the premium contributions that we pay, even though they are going up, are still very competitive in terms of what most people get through their employer. Bear in mind, our deductibles are very low. So we have a very rich healthcare plan here at the city of Akron.
And if
Okay,
I could-
well-
I'm sorry,
oh.
if I could also add that we did review across the region as well as the state where the increases were falling in terms of the wage settlement, and the amounts were around 3%. They started off at like 2.98, and statewide, they topped out at 3.19%.
But hopefully I'm looking at this right. So the FOP is getting for 2025, 5%. And 2026, 4.5%, but non-bargaining is 3% for 2025, then 2026, 2.25%. But they got to pay the same fair share of into healthcare, but they're making less, correct?
So they're actually making about the same. If I look at now they will be making less after this agreement, but basically right now, if you look at the average salary of a non-bargaining employee, it's very similar to both police and fire, really. They're all very close together. Now that's an
All right,
average.
cool.
It's a wider spectrum across non-bargaining than it is across police and fire, but the average ends up being about the same.
All right, I appreciate that. So in closing, so for time's sake, is if it's possible, it's been a while since I've looked at these kind of numbers, but I would like to know the non-bargaining, and I'm not, I don't care about city council or the administration or the mayor, but I want to know where these folks are working within the city. I would like to know. If I could get that information, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kamer. Councilman Eric Garrett.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I would like to bring a couple thoughts for Mr. Fricker here. One of the things we had talked about a little bit earlier was the fiscal crisis that we would have been in if certain things would have happened during the negotiations a little bit further back. So one of my questions is, are we still going to be in that financial crisis after this agreement? The transparency piece. This has been a hot contentious item throughout our community, whether it's the use of force or the review or the oversight. To bring this FOP document, 96-page document, to not give council one full business day to review it, over $19 million plus additional $6.1 million to ask that we make a decision and not be able to share with our constituents, not be able to review it ourselves. It's sort of like signing a blank check. And it troubles me that you suggest that a lot of thought has went into this. At what point in time do we as council get that same amount of time to think about it, to explain it to our constituents, to make sure that it all makes sense? And I still have several questions, one of just related to just different sections in the contract in a brief amount of time that I had to go over it. It just seems like the citizens got very little out of this contract. And I'm not upset at the union because they're negotiated. But just from our standpoint, the citizens deserve more. And I didn't see it in my brief time, the day that I had to go through it. So if we could take time, I echo Councilman Fusco, we just need a little bit more time. I understand that the police deserves, everybody deserves a raise. I mean, economy's down and folks need to be able to, we need to be able to compete and attract some of the greatest compared to Cargo Falls and other areas. I get that. But just giving us time to really go back and look at this, to be able to really inform our constituents. So I request that we consider taking time on this. 1 week is nothing compared to, I know you said it's been months, but our citizens deserve that, and we deserve that opportunity to have some additional time. But really, my point is just, are we going to be in that same fiscal crisis that you mentioned during the time when we were doing the fact finder? Thank you.
So we are going to have to make some adjustments in order to not be in the fiscal position that we talked about as we discussed the agreements earlier this year. A lot of that will be relying on some of the issue 4 money that we have in order, so that there is some money there to bridge the gap a little bit, but as we will show as we go into the 26 budget, there's a limited ability for that money to get us through the next few years. So, we are going to have to make some choices with our expenditures, in light of the additional dollars that these labor agreements are adding to our budget. We're going to have to make some choices about our staffing levels, about some of our contractual expenses, in order to keep our fiscal house in order.
Okay. All right, Councilwoman Linda Amobian again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be brief. I certainly agree with the time. I think we need that. And it certainly would be helpful if we had time to sit down as a group and hear from somebody with regard to what's the language in the agreement and in the contract. And I also would like for us to certainly look at those individuals in the lower bargaining units in terms of their salary and bring some equity somewhere. And I am not opposed to the cabinet folks getting something because, again, you're not going to keep people unless you pay them fairly. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other council members? Our council president, Margot Somerville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for the non-bargaining group. Now, typically, the non-bargaining group, although they don't have anyone who's representing them, typically they do get what everyone else gets historically. Is that correct?
That was true until we entered the recession in 2010, 2011. And since then, it has not always been exactly the same. It is a lot of the time, but if you look over the last 25 years, the non-bargaining has received less than the bargaining units in terms of those COLAs, yes.
Thank you. And just one other thing, and this is just kind of a message. I, too, is asking for a week's time. This is a lot of information. This is a lot of money. And it's really bad business to think that we can continue to bring things to Akron City Council on a Friday afternoon and then ask this body to pass it on Monday. I think we have to do a better job of making sure information gets to council sooner, giving council members the appropriate time to read through the information, do their research, and be able to ask questions. And so again, I'm just asking for a week's time. It's a lot of information. This is a lot amount of money. And so I am hoping that the committee will consider that. Thank you.
And again, I think we would have liked to have brought this before council earlier ourselves. It played out the way it did. This was just the timing of the way things that worked out. And as I said, our concern is that we are late in the year with potentially 2 other bargaining units that will have agreements, in the logistics of getting all of that handled before the end of the year are challenging. And that is the reason behind our request to pass this tonight.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. So we have the FOP and the city of Akron came to an agreement for this contract. And over a week, I mean, the numbers aren't going to change. Like, somebody can't come back and say, well, can we add these 5 more things? Is that right?
I don't believe that
It doesn't.
the terms of the contract can be altered by the council.
Right. So the numbers are not going to change here. Okay. Is there any other questions from committee members? Councilman Fusco?
Just one, and I'll make this in the name of a motion, but I think almost everyone here said they appreciate the efforts from both sides. They appreciate every city employee, and they appreciate also what lies ahead of us. Excuse me. What lies ahead of us in terms of budgetarily. You guys did a very good job of laying that out and telling us exactly, as good as you could in the moment, what this could look like in the future. And it's not going to be easy, especially given all the uncertainty from the other levels of government. But I think for us, for ones that have to vote on this, knowing that we're not going to be able to change it, whatever, it's just learning more and being more comfortable, I guess, in terms of the comfortability in voting on something. And so that's why I arrive at asking for 1 week's time. And that's a motion. Time.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for time. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay? Roll call, please.
Lombardo,
Nay.
Amobian,
Aye.
Fusco. Boys.
Aye.
The motion for time passes 3-1.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody for attending this afternoon. And with that, no other business coming before us. The Budget and Finance meeting is adjourned.
That concludes the committee meetings for today. Council will meet in regular session at 6:30. Thank you.